Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real tonight. See, men, we don't always know how to say what we feel. We don't wake up in the morning and say, "Oh my God, I miss her so much, I can't breathe." No, 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 that's not how we're wired. But just because a man doesn't say, it doesn't mean he ain't feeling it. When a man misses you all day, it shows up in the way he acts, not the way he talks. Let me break this down for you in a real way, because this first point is something a lot of people overlook. When a man truly misses you, he doesn't announce it with big speeches or dramatic words. He shows it in small, consistent actions that repeat themselves throughout the day. That's where the truth lies. Anybody can make a grand gesture once in a while, but consistency is emotional exposure for a man. And men don't expose emotions unless something is really working on them inside. When a man misses you, you become part of his daily rhythm. He checks in without a reason. Not because something happened, not because there's news, but simply because your absence feels noticeable. That just checking on you message isn't random. That's a man trying to reconnect with a feeling he's been carrying all day. He doesn't even realize it sometimes. He just knows something feels off until he hears from you. You'll see it in how he reacts when you reply late. He won't say, "I missed you," but his energy changes. His responses get faster. His attention sharpens. He suddenly wants to keep the conversation going. That's because missing you creates a kind of emotional hunger, and every interaction with you feeds it, even if just a little. Men don't chase conversation unless it gives them comfort, reassurance, or emotional grounding. A man who misses you also remembers details without trying. He brings up things you mentioned casually days or even weeks ago. That's not effort, that's imprint. Your words stayed with him because you stayed with him. If he asks about your day and actually listens, if he follows up on something you told him before, that's proof your presence hasn't left his mind, even when you're not around. Another thing people don't realize is that missing you affects his behavior, not just his communication. He might seem quieter at times, more thoughtful, even slightly restless. That's because men process emotion internally first. When he misses you, he doesn't know what to do with that feeling right away. So it shows up as distraction. He's there physically, but mentally he keeps drifting back to you. And here's the key truth: a man who doesn't miss you won't be consistent. He'll disappear. He'll forget. He'll only show up when it's convenient. But when he misses you all day, even his smallest actions line up. He finds time. He makes space. He keeps a thread of connection alive, even if it's just one message, one call, or one question. That's not coincidence. That's emotional attachment revealing itself quietly, steadily, and honestly. Let me tell you something important about the second point, because this is where a lot of women get confused. When a man misses you, he doesn't always come straight out and say it. Instead, he looks for excuses to stay connected to you. Not real reasons, not urgent reasons, but little reasons that don't really matter on the surface. And that's how you know it's real. A man doesn't reach out without purpose unless the purpose is you. When a man misses you all day, he finds moments to insert himself into your world. He sends a message about something random, something he could have easily kept to himself. He'll comment on your status, react to a story, or ask a question he already knows the answer to. He's not bored. He's emotionally reaching. He just doesn't know how to label it as missing you, so he disguises it as conversation. You'll notice that these excuses don't always lead anywhere meaningful, but that's not the point. The point is contact, hearing your voice, seeing your words, getting a response from you reassures him. It settles something inside him. Men don't like emotional discomfort, and missing someone creates exactly that. So he does what he can to ease it without exposing himself too much. Another sign is how quickly he responds once the conversation starts. He might take hours to send the first message, but once you reply, suddenly he's available. That's because he's been waiting. That excuse to text gave him permission to open the door, and now he doesn't want it to close. If he keeps the conversation going longer than necessary, that's your sign right there. A man who misses you will also create opportunities to see you, even if he pretends it's casual. He'll suggest things like, "I was already in your area," or "I'm grabbing something to eat if you want to come." Those aren't accidents. Those are calculated chances to feel your presence again. Missing someone makes proximity feel important, even if a man doesn't fully understand why. What's powerful here is that these excuses show emotional investment without vulnerability. He's trying to stay close while protecting his pride. Men are taught to stay in control, and admitting they miss someone feels like giving that control away. So instead, they reach out in safe ways, ways that don't risk rejection, but still keep you in their emotional space. If a man didn't miss you, he wouldn't bother. He wouldn't need reasons. Silence wouldn't bother him. But when he misses you all day, he manufactures connection because distance feels heavier than he expected. And every small excuse is really just one message disguised as something else. I've been thinking about you. Let me explain this third point, because this is where a man's behavior really starts to shift in noticeable ways. When a man misses you, his behavior changes when you're not around, and he doesn't always understand why. He just knows something feels different. The absence of your presence creates a gap, and that gap affects his mood, his focus, and the way he moves through his day. A man who misses you all day becomes more distracted than usual. He might be doing what he's supposed to be doing, but his mind keeps wandering back to you. He replays conversations. He remembers your laugh, your tone, the way you reacted to something he said. These little mental moments don't happen by accident. They happen because your presence has made an emotional impact on him, and now his mind keeps returning to it. You'll also notice that when he talks to you after being away from you, his energy feels different. He may talk more than usual, or sometimes less, but with more intensity. He listens closely, like he doesn't want to miss a detail. That's because missing you makes him value the interaction more. He realizes, even subconsciously, that access to you isn't guaranteed, and that awareness sharpens his attention. Another big shift is how he reacts to time. When a man misses you, time stretches. Minutes feel longer without hearing from you. That's why he might suddenly check the clock, check his phone, then check it again. He's waiting for a moment of connection to break the feeling of distance. Even if he doesn't message you right away, the waiting itself is proof that you're on his mind. His emotional state also becomes more sensitive. Small things affect him more than usual. He might get slightly irritated or unusually quiet. That's not because of you doing something wrong. It's because missing someone creates an emotional tension that men aren't always equipped to process. Instead of expressing it, it comes out as restlessness or silence. What's important to understand is that this change isn't dramatic, it's subtle, but it's consistent. A man who doesn't miss you feels normal when you're gone. Your absence doesn't register, but when he misses you all day, your absence feels noticeable. It disrupts his routine. It creates a low-level ache he can't quite name. And here's the truth most people miss. If your absence changes his behavior, your presence mattered. Men don't emotionally react to people who don't mean anything to them. So when you notice he's more focused when you talk, more distracted when you don't, and more affected by distance than he lets on, that's not coincidence. That's a man realizing that you become part of his emotional world, and being without you feels different than he expected. Let me talk about this fourth point, because this one shows up in ways most people misunderstand. When a man misses you, it doesn't just stay in his head or his heart. It comes out as protection, curiosity, and concern. And these are not random traits. These are instincts. A man only feels protective over what he values, what he feels emotionally connected to, and what he would miss if it were gone. When a man misses you all day, he starts wanting to know more about what's happening in your life. Not surface level questions, but real curiosity. He asks how you're feeling, not just what you're doing. He checks in on things you mentioned before. If something bothered you earlier, he remembers and asks about it later. That's not casual interest. That's emotional involvement growing quietly. Protection shows up in subtle ways. He tells you to be careful, to let him know when you get home, to call him if you need anything. These statements might sound simple, but they come from a deeper place. Missing you activates his instinct to make sure you're okay, even when he's not physically there. He wants to feel useful in your life, present in some way, because distance makes him feel slightly powerless. Concern also shows in how he reacts to changes in your energy. If you sound tired, he notices. If you're quieter than usual, he asks if something's wrong. That's because missing you heightens his awareness of you. When you're on his mind all day, he becomes more sensitive to shifts in your mood. He's paying attention even when he pretends not to. A man who misses you may also show jealousy in very controlled ways, not accusations, not drama, but curiosity. He asks who you were with. He wonders about your plans. He listens closely when you talk about other people. That's not insecurity, that's attachment revealing itself. He cares enough to want to know where he fits in your world. What's powerful about this kind of behavior is that it's instinctive, not strategic. He's not trying to manipulate or impress you. He's responding to an emotional pull he didn't plan on having. Missing you makes him more involved, more attentive, and more invested without him fully realizing why. And here's the key truth. A man doesn't feel protective over someone he doesn't miss. He doesn't worry about someone who doesn't matter to him. Concern requires emotional presence. So when you see a man checking on you, remembering your struggles, caring about your safety, and staying curious about your life, understand this clearly. That's not just kindness. That's a man who has been carrying you in his thoughts all day, and his actions are the only way he knows how to show it. Let me explain this fifth point, because this is where a lot of women underestimate their own power. When a man misses you, your silence affects him more than he will ever admit. Men like to believe they are in control of their emotions, but silence takes that control away. When you're not reaching out, not checking in, not filling the space with your presence, his mind starts doing the work instead. A man who misses you all day feels your absence most when there is no explanation attached to it. Not an argument, not drama, just quiet. That quiet gives his thoughts room to grow. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're talking to, and why you're not as available as before. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is uncomfortable for a man who has developed emotional attachment. You'll notice that when you pull back slightly, his behavior shifts. He checks in more. He asks questions that don't seem urgent. He suddenly wants reassurance without directly asking for it. That's because your absence disrupts the emotional connection he's been leaning on. He doesn't want to lose access to you, but he also doesn't want to admit how much he depends on your presence. Silence also forces a man to reflect. When you're always available, he doesn't have to think about what you add to his life. But when you're quiet, he feels the difference. He notices the lack of warmth, the lack of comfort, the lack of emotional grounding you provided. Missing you turns into awareness, and awareness turns into appreciation. Another important thing is how quickly he responds once you break the silence. A man who wasn't affected wouldn't care, but a man who missed you all day will respond faster, with more effort, and with more engagement. He may act like nothing happened, but his actions tell the truth. He's relieved, he's reconnected. The silence did its work. This doesn't mean silence is a game or a weapon. It works because it's natural. Emotional bonds are revealed through absence, not constant presence. When you give a man space, his feelings either grow or disappear. If he misses you, that space pulls him closer internally, even if he doesn't say it out loud. And here's the truth most people avoid saying. A man who doesn't miss you enjoys the silence. He feels free, but a man who misses you feels unsettled by it. He wants to close the distance, restore the connection, and feel that emotional comfort again. So when your silence changes his behavior, makes him reach out, makes him more attentive, understand this clearly. You've been on his mind all day, and the quiet simply gave his feelings room to speak. Let me finish this by breaking down the sixth point, because this is where everything becomes clear. When a man truly misses you, his actions speak louder than any words he could ever say. Men can say a lot of things when it's convenient, when emotions are high, or when they want something, but actions require effort, intention, and consistency. And a man does not put consistent effort into someone who isn't living in his mind throughout the day. A man who misses you all day finds ways to show up